friends. Like, I look at the Mormon church sometimes. I think it's an amazingly interesting group of people. And I don't think I'm new to understanding this, because the years I was in the South Pacific collecting plants going back to 1969, long before the word green was popular, I was trying to rescue the botanical knowledge in the South Pacific. But there were many Mormon missionaries that I met. I met Methodists, I met Mormons, I met tremendous Christian men. They were wonderful people. They're amongst the nicest people I've ever met in my life, by the way. How come I don't see any scandals attached to Mormons, incidentally? I was thinking about that this morning. The vermin attacked the Mormons because Romney's a Mormon, but they're very upstanding people. I don't know of any scandals attached to Mormons, do you? You name any other religion, you see scandals, right? How come there's no scandals attached to Mormons? Why is that? Could it be they actually practice what they preach? Is that a possibility? They're wonderful people. I had business dealings with Mormons many, many years ago. They wouldn't remember me. Back in the late 70s, I was a consultant in the herbal area, in the world of herbal products. And I would travel to Salt Lake City. I'd have business meetings. I drank a beer at lunch. They didn't drink, but they didn't look down upon me. See, that was the difference. There was not a judgmentalism about these folks that I met. I said, do you mind if I have a drink? I mean, I traveled a long way. I was having a business meal. I wanted a drink. No, that's fine. We don't. It's perfectly fine. They didn't look at me a strange way. And that's the problem I have with a lot of other religions, which is that, yeah, okay, you're not like us and you're not as good as us. There's a tremendous judgmentalism that I don't like in many of the other formal religions. I don't care which way it is. So I'm saying this because when Obama came along, he was clearly a Muslim, even though we were told otherwise, or a Marxist Christian, either way. But we never heard much about the Marxist Christianity, nor about the Muslim background. They made no issue of it. They said, oh, no, you can't raise that question because that's the man's religion and that's sacred. But the minute Romney announced a year and a half ago, right away, every nasty crustacean in the business, every nasty crustacean crept out of the filthy mud and started saying, Mormon, 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 Mormon. I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of it. I think the reason I'm talking about it is because I saw an interesting movie the other day on television that reminded me of my youthful idealism. It was called, I think, The Other Side of Heaven. It was done in 1970, and it was about a Christian missionary, in this case a Mormon, and his years on a Tongan island where he was bringing Christianity to the Tongans. And it reminded me, the zeal that he had, reminded me of the zeal I had at that time for rescuing, plant knowledge, and I was going to save the world. I was going to find a new drug in the plant world, and I was just so fanatic in my quest. It was awesome, the passion I had in those days for that kind of work. In that way, I've always been sort of an idealistic social worker in many ways. And if you really want to know the truth, my work on the radio is not much different than that. You go back to 1975, you'll see I wrote a book called Plant the Tree. I put my heart and soul into that. I spent time at the Harvard Botanical Museum, and I researched it, and I wrote that book. I thought it was one of the most important, books I could ever imagine anyone could write. I was going to help organize tree planting in every community in the United States of America to green America. Well, the book didn't become a big hit, nor was it ever talked about. But the fact is that it was all part of this pattern of my life of a desire to make it a better world. And isn't it interesting? Here's the interesting part. While I have spent my entire life trying to make it a better world, the vermin on the left have so distorted my record, just as they try to distort the Republicans. Virtually every day of the week they're lying about one candidate or the other. Either they're lying about Romney, or they're lying about Paul, or they're lying about Gingrich, or they're lying about Huntsman, or they were lying about Bachmann, or they were lying about Kane. They never, ever attack the vermin on the left, do they? They never tell you about Obama, or they never tell you about any of the others on the Democrat side, do they, and their shady pasts or their strange alliances. They don't ever mention